I'm Jason with the All Things Open team. I'm here with Alex. We're going to talk about open source, AI, DevOps, and a bunch more. Welcome to the We Love Open Source Studio. Please introduce yourself to the All Things Open community.
Yes, hello, I'm Alex. I do developer relations at Tailscale. I have done self-hosted podcasts for the last 6 or 7 years. I used to work with Jason at Red Hat back in the day, and you took me to my very first American football game.
That's right.
Many, many years ago. Yeah, that was awesome.
Oh, man, you remember some good stuff. Appreciate that. Well, let's jump right into it. What's exciting about open source today, and why is it important to you?
I think open source really is the embodiment of everything that humanity can do that's right. Like, we come together and we move things forward as a society, as opposed to the capitalistic society that we all ultimately end up in. And I know there's an irony sat here in a Tailscale shirt about complaining about capitalism and all that, but there's a balance that we've got to strike between sharing ideas and collaborating. And for centuries we've done that through books, but now we can do it through things that actually function and achieve results and goals and create amazing things. So,
can you share a specific experience that got you really into open source that you're not looking back?
Yeah, I think this. I think back to this fairly often, actually. It was when I realized that open source was where I was happy. So I went to FOSDEM, which is like, it's a bit like Scale in the US, but FOSDEM is the European version of that in Belgium. And I went there in sort of 2016. I was massively into Docker at the time and like learning about containers for the first time and all that kind of stuff. And there was a GPG key signing party with like 200 people lined up across the quad of this university campus in Belgium. And half of them are wearing VLC traffic cone hats. The other half are wearing wizard cloaks and just, all this just wacky stuff. And I'm like, these people are fun. This is just fun.
You found your people.
Yeah. It's not like, I'm fairly boring to look at, I think. Like, I don't wear wizard cloaks. I don't wear traffic cone hats or all that stuff. But like, I love the fact that there is a part of this community that is allowed to do that. Like, there's a lot of communities where that would be shunned and all that kind of stuff, but we embrace the weird, and I really respect that.
That's a great story. What trends do you see affecting open source today that you'd like to talk about?
AI maybe is probably like the buzzword of the century right now, but I think there's a huge amount of money to be made off the back of open source, and we've seen a lot of companies move towards sort of business source licensing over the last few years, to the chagrin of many that, you're not following the purity of Stallman's original open source vision. But the reality is that the hard work that these people have volunteered their time to give then pads the bottom line of a corporate report. Some cloud provider resells your technology or whatever under a different name, and they don't get any remuneration for that. They don't get any credit. And then when they do when the open source people say, hold on a minute, this ain't right, they get accused of like doing a rug pull on the community. And it's like, well, no, hold on, it's the other way around. Like, we've got to support the grassroots, and we've got to make sure that these small libraries written by one dude in Latvia that support half of the Node.js ecosystem, for example, make sure these people can eat and are supported and have, for want of a word, like a normal life, benefits and all this kind of stuff. And that's probably the biggest issue with open source in general, is like, how do you monetize it? And Red Hat have done a great job of figuring out like the support aspect and services model of supporting that kind of thing. But like, how do we actually just support the core development aspect? I don't think anybody's solved that yet.
Got it. There's a lot of discussion around AI's role in development. Do you think AI will replace developers?
Some of them. Yeah, it's already happening. I think back to when I was a junior developer and I had no clue fresh out of college. Probably took me 2, 3, 4, 5 years to actually get a clue about what, staring at a screen all day like, why aren't you working? And that pain is, education isn't free is the old moniker. And I worry for the current crop of junior developers that they're not getting that opportunity to bang their head against the wall. They're not given the time, the space. Or if they are, they're reaching for these tools that just give them the answer. without fully understanding why certain things are being suggested. And I don't wish to sound like an old fuddy-duddy at this point, but the pain is valuable. The pain is necessary. Like, you've got to go through that pain to understand why the end result is valuable sometimes.
I think that's a great answer. Thanks. How do you see AI enhancing DevOps?
I mean, I was using it just yesterday. Like, I spun up Claude Code just on my laptop just to remind me what rsync flags I needed. I was like, do I need a trailing slash for this recursive copy or not? And I couldn't remember. And like, I could go and look at my Obsidian Vault and look at the notes manually and search or whatever. Or I could literally do, Claude, how do I do X? And it would say, right, do it like this. And it gives me the perfect answer. And it's like, well, I referenced my previous answer about the pain is necessary. I know that rsync is really finicky because of the pain of the past of using it, but it's such a catch-22. Like, it's so easy and it's so useful, but at the same time, like, it's dangerous. Yeah.
Well, on the same topic of AI, because, that's what we got to talk about. What existing or emerging technologies should we be talking about instead?
I think we didn't really touch on digital sovereignty yet much. People owning their own data. Like, it doesn't take a genius these days to draw the line between the Palantirs, the Cambridge Analyticas of this world, and the data harvesting of some of the big tech companies, and some of the egregious things we're seeing in the society at large these days. And so bringing stuff in-house behind your firewall and having control of just basic stuff like your photo library, your music library. We don't need to rely on, like, my Stephen Wilson album from 2015 hasn't changed. I don't need to stream it every time from Spotify. Like, I could just have that on a hard drive in my house and stream it. Like, and in doing that, you democratize the technology because you're able to educate yourself on how the jigsaw fits together and understand, like, right, well, to stream stuff, I need this amount of bandwidth, and I could route the packets this way or I could route them that way. And like, you make a bunch of technical decisions in the process that then enable you to be more effective at work. And like, so I've learned all the skills I know about sysadmining and DevOps from streaming media, basically.
Yeah, whatever works.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to change gears just a little bit. I want to know if you have any new tools you've been using lately to boost your own productivity.
Yeah. I do a video a week for Tailscale, like for YouTube, for the YouTube channel. And that's a lot of work. Like, I do all the editing, all the scripting. And so most weeks I've got maybe a day, maybe a day and a half to like script the whole idea, figure out what the idea is, figure out any code samples, figure out how it's going to be packaged, and then I can sit down and record it. So what I've started doing is, like, I'll go for a walk and I'm like, right, I've got, I want to talk about streaming music, right? And I'll just talk into my phone as a voice memo as I'm walking down the street like a complete loser. Like, here's the ideas, here's the things I want to talk about. I'll then feed the transcription for that into an LLM somewhere and say, right, what am I saying here? Like, what's the gist? Because I think I know what I'm saying, but I want to see what a third party thinks I'm saying. And for years, this has been my poor wife's job. Like, and now I can outsource it to someone that, like, my wife's lovely, but she doesn't care about this stuff. Like, and so then I'll go through that process 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times, as many times as necessary, to come down to the nucleus of what the idea is, and then I can start building it out from there. And like, are there any code samples you can find, and all that stuff. So like, it's AI for me is very much a partner in my creative process. It doesn't replace anything; it just augments it.
I think that's a really, really cool technique that you're using. So that's really, just talk to it and then tell me what I'm saying. I love it. Do you have a tip, a best practice, or any career advice that you could share with the All Things Open community?
Be yourself. Be authentic. Like, people will sniff fakery from a mile off, I think. And in this space, at least, like, there are so many rabbit holes you can go down that, you could be into sysadmin work, you could be into development, you could be into QA, or even just people management side of things as like an engineering manager or something. Like, yes, you need to understand a little bit of the tech, but honestly, coding is such a small part of open source and what we do and stuff, that there is such a huge, diverse landscape that there's space for everybody.
I'm going to bring it full circle because we started off with the FOSDEM story of people wearing traffic cone hats or something. Right. So be yourself, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Alex, are you ready for the hot fix minute?
I don't know. Am I?
We're just going to do it anyway. These have been fun. Linux, Mac, or Windows?
In what context?
You pick.
Probably Mac, unfortunately.
It's okay. Books, movies, or podcast?
Podcast.
Pizza, salad, or tacos?
Oh, definitely pizza, no question.
Rock, country, or hip hop?
Rock.
Star Wars, Star Trek, or stargazing?
Gazing.
Android or iPhone?
iPhone.
ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini?
Oh, Claude. Yeah, I think so.
And the future of AI will be a bunch of helper robots or a robot takeover?
Which one did Asimov pick again? We'll do the one that Asimov did. Yeah, the robot takeover will be good.
Okay,
that'd
great.
be fun.
All right, Alex, you survived the Hotfix Minute. Thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jason.
Thanks.